How's everyone doing? Hope you're all good. It's Thursday, kids. Time to get in some trouble. I'm doing great. Hope you're all doing well. Oh, you made the kimchi, huh, Lily? Or kimchi, sorry. Nice. Try it. All right. It's quite the concoction. I'm having a smashing good Thursday, thanks. Yeah, I hope you are too. Let's draw, huh? Okay, let's start 15. I'm actually going to do some here and there, some close-ups with these poses. So with this first pose, I'm actually kind of going more just upper body, which would explain the orientation of the paper. I really like the relationship between the two arms and the upper torso. That's what I'd like to explore with this pose. So yeah, we'll aim for a 15. Let's see what happens. You know how that goes. What does the shirt say? Jedi Academy. All right, let's do this. Let me get the timer started. Okay. Let's find the shoulders. And the rib cage, transitioning down to the pelvis. Alright, this music is not gonna work. Okay, I'm moving to a different energy. Sorry. Something a bit more mellow right now. I don't quite think I can keep that up for the next 2 hours. Okay. You get that when you graduate. Many try, few are chosen. I have actually the last 3 months, like kind of once a month, I've been doing a figure drawing session at ILM, the Visual Effects Studio in London, obviously. But a lot of fun. They've got the models and everything dotted around the studio, robots hanging out and that type of thing. It's pretty cool. Yeah, that playlist was a little bit too much. Okay. So clavicle, deltoid, pectoral, okay. quite a bit of compression on his neck. It's a great pose. We've drawn this guy a couple of times before. He's just, he does have a manic kind of presence about him with his poses, but they're a lot of fun. You can't accuse the guy of phoning it in, that's for sure. Let's find the arch of the rib cage. Just seeing about here. Oblique. Not obvious to you, I don't know, I have no idea where ILM, well, ILM has offices in several countries around the world. They're in India, that's a new studio for them. London, I want to say Canada, maybe Vancouver, and San Francisco, and somewhere, and I feel like somewhere else, maybe Australia? I don't know, they have 4 or 5 studios around the world. San Francisco is kind of like the main one, it's the OG. How did that come about? They got in touch. There was one of the artists there was given the task of arranging some figure drawing sessions. So yeah, they reached out. And there's talk that we might do more, which would be nice. So we'll see. But yeah, it was just like 1 session a month for like the last 3 months. It was a bit of fun. Nice working with and drawing a live model again. It's the first time since lockdown, actually, if I'm honest. It's the first time since lockdown that I've actually been drawing from a live model. And I really enjoyed it. Nice to work with models I've worked with in the past. Nice to see them and, you know, get that energy that you're ultimately not ever going to quite get from working from reference. Where are we at? 7 minutes. Okay. I am. That's good. I'll keep going here. Shiv, welcome. Glad you're able to catch the stream too. Trio, the usual suspects. guess they didn't make you carry your own easels. No, easels were provided. Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. Like drawing from references, essentially like life drawing with an eye patch and headphones. Yeah, pretty good way of looking at it. Never been to a live drawing session before, Lulu says. I would recommend it. You know, what have you got to lose? I think you'll enjoy it. You know, if you can find a session where you know the model's going to be decent, that would help, obviously. So blocking in is almost done. All right. And his belt line, ASIS is pretty much, obviously, you know, we refer to it as the belt line, and in this case his trunks are literally coming to that belt line, so that's something to observe. Okay, let's yeah, let's bring some clarity to this thing. Time to play with some shapes. So I'm gonna be a coward and I'm gonna start over here. Alright, pectoral. Hey Margot, welcome. Question, says Shiv. Don't know, but to me at an intermediate stage it feels that any sort of perspective and pose, even if maybe I don't feel correct in a sense, it feels more comfortable to draw muscle. Don't know. Sorry, I need to understand your question a bit better. And it feels more comfortable to draw muscle rather than structure. It always feels stiff to me. I think I get what you're saying, Shiv. You know, there's something nice about drawing anatomy actually within a pose rather than just trying to, you know, do an anatomical study. which I do think there's some value to. But it is nice to see things kind of in motion, so to speak. I've got to say, you know, at least for me, you know, those very kind of robotic T poses, as they're sometimes called, which are useful for production, for, you know, modeling and that type of stuff. They'll normally model, you know, characters in a T pose, oftentimes. But those are some of the hardest poses to draw, in actual fact, because they're just inherently incredibly stiff, you know. Ideally, you do want something that breathes a bit of energy into the anatomy, you know. That makes sense. Last year, I ended up signing up for a live figure session, turned into just a model and the teacher had zero input. Total rip-off, over $200. Rick, I would say that is unfortunately the large majority of people's experiences with things like that. Just, you know, well, we've even experienced it here on the stream. Like, you know, it's fairly often we'll see comments, you know, from people along the lines of, you know, did art school for X amount of years and whatever, and was never shown this stuff. And unfortunately, it's just an all too commoner story. And shame on those teaching institutions, if you can even call them that. Really, shame on them. You've no business being in education if you can't step up to the plate and bring it. Right, clavicle coming up to our deltoid. Something like that. Yeah, Lulu, I absolutely would love to have some older models. And, you know, some people with some life, some signs of life in their physique, as far as battle scars. And it's becoming an ever-increasing problem, as I've said before, just trying to keep variety in that with each meeting that we do. It's getting harder. Especially, well, for older models and for male models, you know, unless we just want to draw Superman type physiques constantly. They're few and far between that are actually just regular Joes, you know? Such a shame. Something like that. We're at 18 minutes already. Okay. Just gonna go a few more minutes on this one. I think we should probably hit it with a little bit of light and turn. All right, let's hit some core shadows. I'm going to follow, to some degree, I'm going to follow what's going on in the reference. I may deviate from it slightly here and there. Find some of our core shadows. Okay. Sorry, I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to the chat. It's hard to find this in my country, mostly under a social gathering for wine tasting or for lighting. We kind of have a similar issue here in the UK where a lot of these figure drawing sessions tend to happen in the local kind of town hall or, you know, parish church kind of meeting rooms or whatever, and inevitably the lighting is substandard, and usually it's hit or miss on what type of model you're going to get, to be honest. That's not fair to say that that's a universal truth. Like, there are some very good figure drawing sessions going on in the UK, especially around London. But yeah, you know, you get out of the city centres, it can get tricky quickly. Okay, I think we're getting there. All right, what are we at? 22 minutes. It's probably a good place to call it with this pose. Oh, don't want to forget to colour in here. Jeffrey says, I was watching one of Steve Houston's videos and he calls artists visual philosophers. Any thoughts or comments on this? Yes, I do, Jeffrey. 1 second, let me just catch up with the chat here. Yeah, it's a lot of money to pay to find out that something doesn't work, though, isn't it, Lulu? You know? Hey, Joyce. To me, the muscle is easier to draw because I have an easier time imagining smaller cylindrical ideas where while I am drawing overall proportions, I somehow lose the ability to perceive form. Well, because generally speaking, in my opinion, Lulu, it's because the poses are so static and flat. Right? That's probably why you're missing the mark with some of the volumetric ideas. That would be my guess. Yeah, I have some thoughts to share with you, Jeffrey, on your question about visual philosophers. Okay. Yeah, no problem, Shiv. So I'm going to stop reading messages just for a second, because I think that I've been thinking actually a lot about what Jeffrey's just been asking about, the visual, not so much visual philosopher. I'd certainly no harm in making a statement or a label like that, saying that an artist is a visual philosopher. Sure, I wouldn't disagree with that. But for me, there's a bigger question, which is the intersection between the technical and the creative, and the symbiosis of the two, right? Figure drawing, can we just stop for a second? Because I do want to kind of talk about this just for a second. Figure drawing is such an insanely complex subject, right? When we're going from the poetic form of gesture to the very technical, analytic form of anatomy study, right? And then there's this huge kind of crossover, but ultimately you've got almost kind of like these two very distinct, separate ideas almost. And it's the bringing together of those things. And I think that the other thing is you get people that are emotional artists and you get people that are technical artists. And you get some people that are hybrids of both. There are some people that are very emotionally tuned into to their drawing or to the story that they want to tell. And then you get artists that are very technically minded. You know, they make very good modelers in CG, for example, that type of thing. Or, you know, even, you know, editors, for example, they could be very technically minded, and that's where their artistic strength lies. And then you get some artists that fall into somewhere in between. But I think it's finding the balance between those different disciplines, and respecting each discipline and trying to bring from each idea into a single form. And the philosophy side of it, to me at least, would seem like, you see, you could say, you'll hear it said a lot in figure drawing, things like, what's the story that you're trying to tell with the drawing? That's an insanely ambiguous statement. What is the story? Well, for some people, the story could be it's a girl standing on a hill and there's a sunset and maybe she's got some forest trees around her, right? And in their mind, that's telling a story with an image. For me, telling the story might be what's the relationship between the masses and the forms and the light and how I want to describe that, and what's going on rhythmically within the frame of this individual, right? That could be my story. Those are massively different stories in many ways, and the term story is just very kind of loose, right? I remember my figure drawing teacher saying, look, a lot, you know, and I've parroted it myself, you know, to some degree, and the more I think about it, the more it bugs me as a question. What's the story of it? Yes, it's what do they mean is what's your intention, right? What's your intention going into a drawing? And it's good to have intention. It's good to ask yourself, what is it that you want to do? When I saw this pose, I immediately knew that it was a relationship between these two arms and the upper torso kind of thing. That's kind of the story I wanted to tell. And then you can get into then you can have an artist like Banksy, right? Who's making political statements with his art. Yeah, he's a visual philosopher. But there's a very different visual philosophy than what I'm doing. And maybe this doesn't even get into philosophy. Maybe it does, because I'm asking questions, right? I prefer to think of it. You see, also though, this is something else, and the more I think about this, and I know we've talked about this quite a bit lately, but I want to reiterate it, because the more I think about it, the more it fits for me as an artist, which is, I think very much of drawing as a process that the end result is a byproduct of. It's not necessarily my goal. Right? My goal is not necessarily to have a drawing. My goal with this drawing was to solve a puzzle in real time, which I did, in my mind at least. Okay, there's a drawing at the end of it, but who cares? I asked this question last night, and I think it's a really useful one to ask yourselves, especially you digital artists. How many of you have got folders upon folders upon folders full of abandoned paintings or drawings? Stuff that you got halfway through. Why do you keep them? They were never meant to be more than what the purpose that they served, like the practice of music. You were practicing in real time, and it was something that was happening in the moment. And the fact that you got halfway through a painting is irrelevant. It's like practicing music. Once the note decays, I know I've been going on about this analogy, but I think about it more and more, and the more I think about it, the more important it is to me. The idea that a musical note decays and it's gone. So why can't drawing or art fall into the same category? People say to me, oh, you work on newsprint, oh, it's not archival. Who cares? Who cares whether this drawing exists beyond this moment in time? Like, really? It should be about what's happening in the moment, in my opinion. Now, I know most people draw, some people don't even enjoy the drawing process. It's all about, I just want a finished result at the end of it. I'm the complete opposite. I don't care if I've got a drawing at the end of it. I care about what's happening in real time, in the moment, and the questions and the answers and the tug of war. And that's why I think I can walk away from drawing a lot and just practice music, because practicing music scratches, for me at least, that exact same itch. Right? I'm in real time, I'm practicing something, I kind of grasp it or I don't, or whatever happens during a practice session. But at the end of the practice session, that music is gone forever. Yes, there's residuals and echoes of it in my mind and hopefully in my hands for next time. But I think we need to change and differentiate maybe the way that we frame looking at art as a medium and what it means to us and what it is that we're trying to get out of it. Because if all you're doing is doing drawings to try and get pieces to go on Instagram, then you've missed the entire point. Right? That's the way I feel. Unfortunately, I think it's the motivation for so many people, and I think that they're seriously missing out on something truly, potentially magical. Okay, hope that wasn't too heady or it came across like I'm talking out my ass. It probably did. But I feel strongly about it. Don't hold on to your work. Doesn't matter whether that work exists beyond the moment that you're in. Unless someone's paying you for a finished result, then that's different. Okay, next pose. I don't even know if that answers your question, Jeffrey. Maybe. Take care, Rick. You've probably long gone. Sorry. Our school kept you out of jail. That's a good thing, right? It's good a reason as any. Do you have any tips on accuracy for first initial sketches? Yes, repetition. I did it too long that time. Next time I'm going to try it a bit shorter. Oh, that's a little closer. Maybe it's too short. Next time I'll try it in the middle. Do that 1,000 times, Amaris, and you'll get your accuracy. Really. Forget formulas. Repetition. Put in the reps. You'll get it. And sometimes you'll fail. I fail all the time on this stream. People see it happen in real time. Okay, sorry. Let me reset the clock and let's keep going. Richard, I have a question. Do you think it would be a good idea to try to do 2.5 hours on Mondays and 1.5 hours on Thursdays? Yeah, maybe. I don't know, Lulu. I can't do over 2 hours. I start to lose the plot, my friend. Maybe at some point we could look at changing up the time, but let's see. Okay. Oh, I did not leave much room there. It's okay, I can kind of nudge things over a little bit, I think. Yeah, Joyce, I would say, honestly, repetition. We could talk about some basic proportional ideas. I'm happy to do that. I'll do it after this drawing. But you see, I feel like, you know, to some degree, And I please don't take this as me being oversimplistic. But your ability to be self-aware enough to realize that your proportions are wrong is the same tool that you will use to fix that problem, if that makes sense. Right? Just, I think my proportions are wrong. I think my torsos are too short. Then when you're at this stage of the drawing, real loose, play. I'm going to show you a little exercise I do. I used to do more than I do now, but I'll show you a little exercise I used to do after this drawing, which kind of talks to the idea of proportion. Try drawing on a blackboard or whiteboard. I believe it embodies that idea. Yeah, for sure, Lulu. I would agree. I'm glad that helped, Shiv. Practice makes perfect. Yeah. It really does, you know. Like we're all hoping that there's kind of a magic elixir that will speed up that process. And certainly good teachers can help speed up that process, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, practice does make perfect. Practice makes perfect. Now I've got to be unfortunately, I've got to be very deliberate about drawing this guy's shorts. Do you hear me, YouTube? He's wearing shorts. Please don't demonetize me. Thank you. Would appreciate that, just for once. Righteous friend. Well, it just comes back to the music analogy. You know, we don't think twice if we're walking along the street and we hear a live musical performance and someone says it's actually not being recorded. You wouldn't go, oh my God, why isn't it being recorded? You go, yeah, it's music. It's happening in the moment. Sometimes it's recorded, sometimes it's not. Drawing doesn't need to be any different. Anyway, I will stop banging on about this. Amara says, I enjoy this take. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a conversation that needs to happen more too, right? Thanks you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Not like maybe the edge of madness. Well, I'm glad that it seems to be resonating with people. That makes me happy. Wonderful. And I'm afraid it's something you're going to hear me talking about more, because I'm still feel like I'm formulating my thoughts on it. as an idea, as a concept, because I think there's actually, even within the contents of that, we'll call it a rant, I actually think there's more ideas to explore. I've actually been making notes. I was making notes on the train on my way up to London yesterday about just this, this exact topic. Because I think maybe it is something that isn't talked about enough. And I feel like maybe it's something important, an important conversation that we can have, that can evolve as different philosophical ideas get presented to it, because I'm sure, you know, there's more to be said. There's more to be said, for sure. Because I think it goes beyond art. Anyway. Peter Hahn. I don't know if Peter Hahn. I can look that up. Michael, you're drawing along. Fantastic. Sorry I'm not drawing faster. But yeah, good. I'm glad. You see, what a wonderful thing. Really. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Look at that latissimus just kind of peeking out there, coming across this way. Can't really see the tricep, but I want to suggest it coming in here and here. This side it's harder because of the compression, but I think we can give a sense for that happening. Of all art discipline, asks Kevin, what makes you like figure drawing this much? Good question, Kevin. Well, I'll tell you why. Because I believe if you can draw the figure, you can pretty much draw anything. You can possibly make some exceptions there. But generally speaking, and the reason why is because the human form is the great kind of truth serum of art, because we're all acutely aware when something is off in figure drawing. Right? We might not know what, but we're so hardwired to look at bodies and to know when a body is healthy or when a body is sick, and all of these kind of hardwired cues, that there's no faking it with figure drawing. It either looks right or it looks wrong. So it's a great canvas to study and build a skill set, a drawing skill set, because there's nowhere to hide, right? I can hide behind the fancy architecture of a car, or of a house, or some kind of architectural idea, right? I can hide behind the organic drawing of a mountainside, because who's to say that that hill wasn't there, or was there, or was thicker or thinner? But generally speaking, when a figure isn't right in figure drawing, the spidey senses tingle, and that's why I like using the figure. And the thing is, regardless of what discipline you ultimately want to draw in, it can all be practiced within the framework of the figure, right? So, you know, I can work on design language, I can work on any number of things, volumetric ideas, light and tone, all of these things can be explored with the figure. Very few other subject matters that allow for that level of exploration, right? And not just the technical, but the expressive. I can I can practice drawing motion or rhythm or any of these other ideas too. It's very universal in that way. So that's why I find the figure so fascinating, and I keep coming back to it. Because it's just got so much to offer as a subject matter. And as the old cliche goes, the more I study it, the more I realize I don't know, or the more I realize I need to refine my skill set, or whatever it might be, if it, just for the pure pursuit of drawing. That makes sense? Fair enough, Jeffrey. Yeah, look, there's nothing wrong with that approach. Whatever works, really. All right. So we got a tricky passage with this arm, this shoulder. Don't want to overcook it. Maybe this will be okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think I can make it work. Thank you, Jeffrey, for the compliment. I'm really way behind on the chat. Same as our music. The answer to every question is more practice. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, probably Lula, the demonetizing comment. I think drawing is sort of like a rehearsal for an actual performance later, and whether or not it takes place is up to the artist. Yeah, it's funny you should say that, Margot, because I was thinking in those terms with, with the music analogy of, the practice and then the performance aspect. But I would take it one step further. Well, you kind of do, because whether or not it takes place is up to the artist. I think it can also just be practice for practice sake. Taking my music at least as kind of an example. I have zero aspirations to perform publicly. I dabbled in that a few times. Didn't really enjoy it that much, but I think that really came down to my lack of proficiency more than anything else. You know, it's not really a stage fright issue or something like that. Just I've got to a point with music, at least, where I just want to do it for the sake of the process and the doing, without any thought to it. Like it doesn't need to be a dress rehearsal, right? So I think maybe that kind of speaks to what you're talking about too. Yeah, well, sorry, I'm reading Jeffrey's comment. The music was recorded in your mind and soul. It's an emotional reaction, an emotional response, I would agree. And one that can be a memory. Well, this kind of brings up the other subject of you going to concerts with everyone has their phones out. This is just such a terrible development with humans. This, with the advent of the technology, this kind of obsession with recording the moment. It's such a shame. Just be present in the moment. Enjoy. You don't have to have a recording of it. Especially a recording that there's a high likelihood that you just won't look at it again, or not in any meaningful way. Just take up data on your phone, so then the companies can sell you more data. That's what's happening. It's so frustrating to go to a live music concert or a live event and all you're seeing is a sea of phones. What a shame. All right, this is way off, so that can stay there. This needs to come up. Okay, we're getting there. The perspective of a rehearsal, yeah, it's a nice analogy for sure. That's lovely, Jeffrey. I'm glad to hear that you're meeting with your friends. Good stuff. Yeah, look. How nice to elicit a conversation from the art. That's great, Jeffrey. Jethro, sorry. Glad to have you along. Thank you, T2. Appreciate it. So I'm just going to catch up with the chat here real quick. You're welcome, Kevin. All right. Speaking of which, when you do, so Kevin's asks, when you do figure practice, would you try to replicate the reference to the best you could, or make changes based on artistic perspective? Absolutely make changes, Kevin. whether it's a live model or a reference on the screen, the model is purely there to get the conversation started between you and the drawing. Make changes. In fact, I encourage changes. You're going to often have times where the model hasn't pushed far enough, or there's something that could be changed to improve the drawing. Just change it. No one's looking at your drawing and a photo of the model next to your drawing going, you did that wrong. And if they are, they've missed the entire point. You're not a Xerox machine or a camera. If you want an exact replica, use one of those. Change it, play, have fun, right? That's why we're here. We want to have fun with our drawing. Yeah, absolutely. That's where the magic happens. I'm changing things constantly. Well, you know, if you've got the reference in front of you, it's very obvious that, you know, sometimes willingly and sometimes unwillingly, I'm changing things. But yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly, Lulu. Let's feel our emotions with the weekend. Well, some days I just need to get this stuff off my chest. It just happens to be one of those days. Actually, I'm going to go in with the other pencil. Let's get some tone going on. Lucas says, out of curiosity, how much weight do you put on memorization for figure drawing anatomy concepts? I think it ultimately, to some degree or another, Lucas, it depends on what you want to achieve and what your goals are as an artist. If you want to be able to draw from the figure, let's say, in this case, from your imagination, with the minimum of fuss, without having to refer to anatomy books and the likes, then I would strongly encourage you to memorize a lot of this stuff. I think you'll find you'll memorize a lot of it just through the process of doing. But yeah, like, you know, but then again, you know, if you're just drawing the body every now and then, and you're not in any hurry, and you don't mind having the reference around, then, you know, there's a place for that too. I think it really does depend what it is that you want to get out of figure drawing. I could not imagine trying to do this without having large portions of this stuff memorized. I do all of my anatomy demos from memory. I don't really have any reference in front of me when I do those. It would make the whole thing so much less organic. So yeah, like, you know, I can't imagine really not doing it or doing it any other way. That's interesting, Lily, about taking notes in class. I think, you know, here's the thing with taking notes, in my opinion. Probably a single word or, you know, a couple of words will be enough to remember a whole batch of ideas. So, you know, maybe there's a place for some notes, you know. But it also, I think it depends what it is that you're trying to, you know. If we're doing chemistry or the likes, maybe notes are a bit more important. I think it's case dependent, probably. Ah, Margot, that's lovely. You wish you had a recording of your mum playing the piano. Hear her every time. Hear other artists playing renditions of Chopin and Mozart. That's lovely. You know, it is funny, isn't it? Obviously, it's a lot more common now, but you know, my parents have passed, and I believe that there's some footage somewhere of, like, you know, a holiday, like a public holiday, but I don't have any record of my parents, like, alive, if you know what I mean, like, other than photos. It's an odd one. Might be ghosts here and there of, like, videos, but not really anything meaningful. It's a shame. Okay. I think I'm gonna call it with this drawing. Yeah. Interesting pose, you know? Quite unconventional. Always enjoy myself a back pose, I've got to say. Nice. One day there'll be a live Richard playing Carnatic music, I guess. That will mostly likely never happen, Inca, not only because I probably never see me play music live, but also because I don't play Carnatic, I play Hindustani music. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, next pose. All right, we're back to, put this over here. We're back to the widescreen. I'd like to see that one day. Yeah, you know, I think it's just very unlikely, Inca. You never know. I guess crazier things have happened, but... All right, there we go. Ha ha ha, Jeffrey, you're a funny man. Hemant asks tourism stories, Richard. Where's Hemant? I haven't seen Hemant in the chat. You here, Hemant? Make yourself known, please, if you are. That's funny, Jeffrey. Okay. Oh, proportion, Joyce. Do you want me to do it real quick? Sorry. Proportion. Yes, let's have a quick look at an exercise. This is a bit of fun. You guys can try this. Just, you know, doodling, noodling, whatever we're going to call it. So you know the way that we talk about, and this might seem like I'm going around around the river here to get to the point, but you know the way that we draw when we're drawing at least a standing pose: upper torso, lower torso, right? Something like that. If we just draw a center line, head is going to be about here. So, you know, we can talk about proportion in terms of measurement, right? Which I'm a bit iffy on. But generally we can say from the top of the head to the pubic bone is halfway, right? So if we take that, we can say, okay, our feet are here. Actually, you can't see that. There we go. Right, from there, come down. So the pubic bone is halfway. We can use that as a form of measurement. That's fine. As you all, many of you know, I hate the 8.5 heads high kind of form of measurement. I find it just, it's ridiculous. Anyway, there are other things that we can look at. Let me just draw in. Aces is about here. Manubrium's about here. Okay. Rib cage is going to be taking up the mass of this upper box there. Inguinal ligament coming down. Okay, so from halfway from the pubic bone to here, if we come down about halfway, that is just below our knees, our kneecaps, the patella, right? We could come down, do this type of thing, right? So that's another form of proportion that we can use. There are, from the manubrium to the xiphoid process to the navel to the pubic bone, they're roughly even, although I always find this one is a little bit longer. But that's probably my bad drawing as much as anything, but I'm consistently bad, because this one generally is a bit longer. But these three are generally evenly spaced apart. You know, we know that, for example, approximately halfway between the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the iliac crest is the navel, right? Sitting there. Okay, and we know then the oblique is going to be sitting in here, etc. Right? Good stuff. Elbow is also right around where the navel is, sitting about there, and I think wrist is about here. Right down, but round where the pubic bone is, give or take. So we can look at that as a concept, as a formula. That's fine. We can do that. But here's a nice little thing to practice, right? As I said, we look at that box, right? Upper torso and lower torso. And we look at the relative relationship and volume to each other. Play around with that. So just do a page where you do, for example, a longer torso, a longer upper torso, a longer box for the upper torso, and maybe a wider box for the lower torso. Something like that. Look how we suddenly changed the proportions. Now you could decide to put really long legs on this person, right? Just fun little exercise, and you aspiring character designers, this is a great way to come up with iterations of proportion, for example, right? So there we've got very, very different types of proportions, and that was mostly inspired by just kind of stretching the overall relationship between this upper and this lower box. I can do the opposite too. I could say, well, maybe my upper box is there and maybe my lower box is really short and wide, something like this. You can maybe put this on 3/4 view. And maybe the legs are really short too. Like maybe the feet are about here. Right? Got this, you know, short, stout type of character, let's say, right? Something like that. And it's a lot of fun to just take this concept of really letting the proportions and the relationship between this upper box and this lower box, let them kind of dictate how you push with proportion. But this is a great exercise for developing an intuition for getting your proportions correct. And I would say that for those of you who struggle with proportions, to not take, you know, to not take your drawing any more complex than, you know, something like this. Okay, are my proportions correct? Okay, that's kind of working good. All right, now I can, you know, now I can move forward when I look at a model with a little bit more certainty that I'm going to get the proportions correct. But if you keep getting the relationship between box A and box B wrong, your proportions are most likely always going to be off. Right? Oh, it's Himant on a different account. Sorry. Okay. No, when you need to catch up, Inka or Hemant, because that was asked. Joyce did ask that question earlier. Anyway, practice that, and just, you know, do a couple of pages of those, pushing, pulling, pushing, pulling, and you'll develop your sense of proportion fairly quickly. Okay. Put that over there. Trying to get out of the habit of just throwing drawings on the floor. A tourism story. I've got to hand it to you, Hemant. You're always, you've always got an interesting angle on trying to get, you know, for the conversation. Yeah. God, do I have any tourism stories? Guys, this sounds so boring when I say, you know, I don't have answers to you for these things. You see, I'm trying to think of something that would be amusing. Like, you know, I've been around a bit, I've seen places, but that's not really interesting conversation. I've never been arrested abroad or anything crazy like that. Yet. Let me think if I can think of any tourism stories. Okay, next drawing. Let's keep going, huh? You guys still there? I'm gonna assume you are. Sorry, I'm just checking something. See you, Jeffrey. Take care. All right, let's change pencil. Nope. Oh, thank you, Jeffrey. Appreciate it. You're very welcome. Have a wonderful weekend. All right, let's reset the clock. But whenever I'm dealing with proportion, or when I'm thinking about proportion, it's very much concerned with this relationship between the upper and the lower torso. If you can get that right, there's a very good chance the rest of it will kind of come to the rescue. See, there, well, this is what I need to find first of all, right? Then I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna have an arm coming down this way. And I'm looking, for example, if I drew a straight line from where his arm is here, this negative shape in here is going to tell me a lot about whether I'm on the money with my, with the relative spacing of things, right? Center line. Let's find the mass of this upper leg. And there's quite a lot of foreshortening on this left leg. Knee is about here. Tibia coming down this way. This leg has a bit of foreshortening on it too, but it's less so. Rib cage. Manubrium's about there. Clavicle. All right. Richard, you got that Russian or Art Academy in Britain? You got Russian or Art Academy in Britain? You mean a Russian Art Academy? Academy of Russian Art? Sorry, Hemant, not quite sure what the question is. You must know a story, Lulu. I feel like I'm out of stories. I'm sure I have stories. I just, I don't know. Every time a month asks me for a story, I have a block for some reason. So, let's see. Wow, Lulu, that could not be more random. Chocolate usually has soy lecithin as an emulsifier in its ingredients. Emulsifiers keep fat and water in emulsion. Okay. If you take a few pieces of hot chocolate and boil a cup of water, you can make yourself some hot chocolate in a jiffy. You want milk. Don't use water to make hot chocolate. That feels, unless you've got, you know, unless you're lactose intolerant, feel like you're just shortchanging yourself there. You want a good hot chocolate. You want the base of that hot chocolate to be milk, in my opinion. But yeah, nice way to change the conversation. Appreciate it. You know to create. You can create your own story. Well, true to some degree, but that's not really. Well, kind of why we're here, and if I'm just going to make up stories to tell you guys, then I feel like the purpose of the stream is kind of changed, if you know what I mean. Not really something I was planning on. Stories need to happen organically, is my feeling. Let the stories happen. They'll happen. Probably when you least expect it. I also, you know, I've usually got about one good rant or story in me, and I feel like today I already used those coupons earlier. But if you want to hear a good rant, and you weren't here, and go back, Hemant, go back and listen to the stream from about an hour ago. All right, James, I will talk through my process a little bit more. Why not? Is that a quadricep that goes up over the knee on the foreground leg? That's very cool. Well, what you're seeing right here, actually, while you are seeing some of the quadricep, Margot, if I'm right in thinking, what you're looking at here, this coming up this way, and then kind of going like this, is actually the sartorius, the strap of the sartorius coming down and attaching to the side of the knee and creating that division between the inner thigh sitting in here and the rest of the leg, right? So by drawing the thigh in here, then and we draw in that pant leg, you see how if we follow that form around, we end up with we end up with showing the anatomy. So the quadricep, like rectus femoris, for example, is sitting in here. It's also attaching to the ACIS, right? And it's sitting in here, and it's coming down this way, and it's sitting in here. And then on this side, vastus lateralis and vastus medialis on the inside for the quadricep. The fourth muscle of the quadricep system, we don't actually see it, sits right underneath this rectus femoris, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, that's what you're seeing there. It's cool. All right, let's get in some detail. See ya, Jose. Take care. You're welcome. James, glad that helps. Always try and, you see, look at the right leg, for example. We can't actually see it, but you see if I kind of suggest the sartorius coming in here as well, we really get the sense of that volume doing that. So once again, and you can kind of get a hint from the light, even though you can't see the muscle, you get a sense of that turn of form, as I said, which is being really very much influenced by that sartorius. All right, let's hit the arm, tricep coming down to the elbow. And you know, we talk about grammar and design language and building your visual grammar for things. You know, this is such a typical example of that, the tricep coming down here, down to the elbow. You know, that particular shape, to some degree or another, I've used hundreds of times to describe this type of form, and it's consistent on the reference as well. And it's a very good example of, you know, where building that grammar and that vocabulary really kind of pays dividends. It comes back to what we were talking about earlier too, about drawing from the imagination, where, you know, if you're drawing this from imagination, if that's built into your grammar, there's a very good chance that's what it's one of the versions that you're going to use. If that makes sense. It really comes back to this idea that, you know, drawing is essentially language. Just got to learn the language. These kind of suggestions are a must for diagrammatical drawings, otherwise it's kind of flat and boring. Like, well, yeah, like diagrammatical drawings are all grammar, right? Because we're not using any light and tone to describe form when you're doing a diagrammatical drawing. So there is no diagrammatical drawing without those types of concepts, right? We're just using them more globally for the entire drawing. But yeah, absolutely. You know, I read a beautiful thing yesterday. You know, I said I was working on my you know, this whole concept that we were talking about earlier. I was writing notes on the train. I actually have written right here, Margot, speaking to what you were talking about, in practice, the distinction between practice and performance. It was the last thing I wrote down. But I found a lovely thing about poetry, because I was thinking about gesture as the poetic form, right? And so I was looking at a few things about poetry, and there was a lovely little thing. Poetry is the best words in the best order. I just thought, yeah, that's perfect. That's poetry, the best words in the best order. So there you go. Yeah, it's all grammar, Ludo, for sure, for sure. Or the drawing equivalent of, right? Okay, what are we doing with the lighting on this sucker? The lighting on the model is not great, in my opinion. And actually, my drawing is not great. I'm very tempted to leave this drawing here because I will be polishing the proverbial you-know-what if I continue. So yeah, we're at the 20-minute mark. I'm gonna actually call it with this drawing. I don't like it. I'm kind of over it. It seems like a good a place to stop as any before I get into the tonal aspects of it. Do you share images, Richard? From the streams? Yeah, look, I've lapsed of recent There was a time on the Discord channel, there's actually a tab called Richard's Stream Drawings or something like that. And they were up to about stream 106. Every single drawing I've done in this, on the live streams is up there. I have a large pile of drawings on this desk from previous streams which I need to take photos of and I need to get up there or do something with. Just haven't got round to it. And the longer I leave it, the bigger that job gets and the harder it is to allocate time towards it. So I'm really kind of drawing myself into a corner, so to speak. So yeah, but like I do, also on my website, under the figurative art tab, there's a lot of my work, kind of like, I guess you could say, you know, some of the stuff I think is some of the better stuff. Glad we're leaving this one. Yeah, I wasn't enjoying that one. Antonella. Is that Spanish? Portuguese? Well, buenas tardes. Welcome. It's okay to have unfinished work, right? In the spirit of what we were talking about earlier. That puppy, Margot, has got far too much of my attention already. That puppy just takes all of my time and energy and attention and love, and it's awesome. You were in Madras last week, Hemant. It's got to be hot as hell over there right now. Wasn't I reading that right now in Delhi it went up to 50 degrees Celsius? Whew, you guys are getting it bad. We're getting the opposite. It won't stop raining here in England. All right, next pose. Where are we at? We're at 6:42 UK time, which means we're looking at roughly about 20 minutes to go, and we've got quite a few poses. How about we really shift gears here and we go to like 5-minute poses? Shall we do that? Let's do that. Let's change it up. 45 degrees where you are, is it? I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's outrageously hot. Uncomfortably so. Are you handling it okay? Okay, let me start the timer here. I'm guessing that there's you've got AC and stuff, so there's some relief from it, but there's got to be a lot of people that don't. Anyway, feel for you guys over there. Hey Lulu, I'm curious what your native language is. Let me know, will you? Because you speak. I don't know why I feel like English isn't your first language. Am I right? Not that you would know from, you know, the way that you converse. You're very eloquent, but I'm just curious. Bulgarian. Oh wow, look at that. You're spitting bars in Bulgarian now. Nice. Very good. Well, your English is excellent. Well, I'm guessing they emphasize learning languages other than Bulgarian in Bulgaria, right? Which is smart. Three minutes, and I am drawing like this is a 25-minute pose. What is wrong with me? You met some British folk and your town's little. So you sound American. Well, it's probably all that American TV. Right, that's what they say. It's happening here in the UK even to some extent. There's so many Americanisms that are used in a way that they simply weren't before. It really does all come from the entertainment we consume. All right, 20 seconds to go. Well, look at that. I definitely need to recalibrate my internal clock. Terrible. All right, well, it is what it is. I'll let this one be a lesson. Ah, completely unfinished. Let's move on. Excuse me. Curiously enough, it was in the educational system I learned most because I had to seek out technical information online. It's usually the way there. That makes sense too, yeah. You're working on your Brit accent via Acorn TV. I'm curious, Marco, what shows are... I'm guessing you guys have the Great British Bake Off and stuff like that. Is that what kind of shows you're talking about? Or is it more like episodic UK stuff? All right, next pose, 5 minutes. Let's do this. So when we're trying to find these large rhythmical ideas, these lines of action, so to speak, you know, we've got that extension of that leg coming down this way. And this leg is going away from us, when we're doing that, right? But there's still a long rhythmical line all the way through the form here. So we want to look for that type of thing. Then we've got a lot of this leg coming towards us, a lot of foreshortening. Knee is about there. Tibia coming down this way, so we really get the sense of him once again kind of following through a rhythmical idea there, right? Shorts, see him there. So pectoral coming down. So in there, maneuvering clavicle, pectoral. Ugh, this music's a bit boring, isn't it? When it's raining season, it's tsunami or cyclone season in Madras. Oh, so you guys are going through that now, are you? Isn't it true though, like, do you guys get your monsoon before, like, Delhi? Was I reading that correctly? Once again, like time management stinks. Quite complex pose this though, in fairness. All right, 5. Let's move on. I'd be curious to hear your Scottish accent, really. Might have to put you on the spot and say, you know, you could upload an audio file to Discord with your best hits. Just a thought. Works both ways. I won't hold you to that. Okay, next pose. We're gonna make the next one, we're gonna make this one the last one, guys, okay? I will leave the others up there and you guys can draw them should you wish. All right, last pencil. Well, there are others, but we'll use this one. And we will hit the clock, 5 minutes. Nice, relatively forgiving back pose for us to finish off the proceedings with. I think we'll take it. This arm's out this way. Elbows about here. This arm is coming right back towards us. Wrist is about here. Hand sitting there. If I find my microphone, you might get my voice over some of the lines of the Scotsman from Samurai Jack. No promises. Okay. No, like Lulu. That's Lulu's real name. It's Lulu. Or Dank, if you want to get specific. Got the shorts. Let's be clear about that. Our model is wearing shorts. You mean the Lulu part, right? Jank. It's good stuff. Yeah, got to say I'm quite glad the internet wasn't around when I was that age. I think I would, I'm sure I would have made some terrible choices. I don't think you have anything to worry about there though. I think it's cool. All right. I actually have pseudonyms that I use online for different things. Yeah, this is one of this and Instagram, and I guess just social media for the drawing side of things. I use my name, but we all appreciate the anonymity that the internet affords us. And like, you know, you'll never guess my chess playing handle, for example. Yeah, it's good. I like it that way. And there's our 5. Okay. Well, we'll take it. Not the prettiest 5 in the world, but it's a 5. It's a good point to end. I regret nothing. Good for you, Lulu. I appreciate that, and I appreciate everyone. Really, thanks for hanging out on this Thursday. At least for me, afternoon/evening. It's turned 7 o'clock here. I'm gonna go off, harass the puppy for a bit. Maybe go make some dinner, and start the evening, and by extension the weekend. And speaking of which, I hope you will have a fantastic weekend. We will be back Monday, right? The Tuesday was an anomaly this week, as I'm sure you know. But we will be back Monday with some mysterious thing that we have yet to figure out what it will be. But it, you know, there will be a very slight shift of gears from what we do on the Thursday. So I hope you can join me for that. If you wouldn't mind, if you think of it, or if, you know, on your way out, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that would be much appreciated. If you're watching and you're not a member and you'd like to draw along, please consider becoming a member. As they say, for the price of a cup of coffee per month, you can have access to all the reference. And you can draw along, and that's a good thing. Guys, thanks so much, really. It was an interesting one today, right? And a conversation that I hope we can continue, because I find the philosophical side of the drawing process and the challenges that it can create, I find it fascinating, and it makes for very interesting conversation in my mind. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and thanks for joining in the conversation too. There is no stream without you guys, as I like to say, but it's true. Your conversation, your questions, your interaction really makes this such an incredible thing, really. With that said, guys, look after yourselves. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you all on Monday. Cheers. Bye.